There it is. Need my other computer here. All right. Good. All right. I think we're on. YouTube. There we go. All right. I think we're good. All right. All right. Can I record on here? Oh, I didn't know I could do that. All right, cool. All right, sweet. All right. Hold on just a second. All right. Cool. There we go. Looks like we're good. All right, sweet. So what's going on, everybody? Just figured I'd jump on here late tonight. Kevin, cornbread, Gary. That's what I'm drinking right now, man. Some peppermint tea, Gary. It's tasty. That's for sure. Appreciate y'all being here. First thing we're going to do is we're going to share with, hopefully you got your Parler app. I'm going to share with you what you have to do if you have a Parler app, because I mean, Brian Dish, are you in PA? I saw you on here. Where'd you go, man? Where'd you go? Brian, if that is, okay. I'm not sure what happened to your quote there. Anyway, so if you got the Parler app, and you need to have the Parler app, and yeah, okay, Brian. So vinyl, are that my man Brian? Hey, right on. Appreciate it, Mark. You're a good man. I don't care what they say. Mark gave me $9.99 super chat. So Mark, you got any questions you want to fire them away? We got some. Appreciate that. Anyway, so if you have the Parler app, here it is. Now you can't get it on the Apple Store anymore because I was listening to my man Michael Malice interview Hotep Jesus, who I actually like a lot. We got a lot of righteous black dudes on the right side of things on YouTube and various. It's freaking fan. I love it. Hotep is freaking fantastic. If you ever get a chance, look up Hotep Jesus. That guy is flipping awesome. Brilliant guy. I love him. I mean, I love him just because he's black, but I like when black guys are on our side, because I think that's probably the hardest. You've got to be a tough guy to be black and be conservative or libertarian, because it just is tough. Anyway, long story short, I was listening to him. And what he was saying, he says, look, man, we talk about cryptocurrency a lot, and he has an app for Bitcoin, which, look, I don't know that much about, but he says, we got to start talking to crypto, please, if that makes sense. And I said, it's crazy. It's crazy. And like Michael Malice was saying about we got to follow the gay movement of the 50s and 60s. I mean, so think about it. I got lots of stuff to go over here. I got all these things I want to share with you. But if you think about the gay movement, it was illegal to be gay just 40 years ago. I mean, even early. I mean, not even in my lifetime. Illegal, nuts. You know, the Stasi would come, the stormtroopers would come to your house. It's crazy, and yet somehow they survived. And this is why I've always felt somewhat of but being gay, it's not like being black. Being black is your skin. You cannot hide that. Being gay, you can. I don't like it. I mean, I'm not gay, but I get why gay people are like, what the hell? You know what I'm saying? I mean, whatever. We can argue about it all day long, but I get why gay people are sitting there thinking, dude, what the hell? But being black, you can't hide that. You can't. And yet they persisted, if that makes sense. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned on what previous generations, and no, I'm not comparing us to freaking slaves or freaking dealing with persecution in that sense. Well, not yet, but certainly not comparing us to freaking what black people went through. People always go, they're like, yeah, no. I'm saying there is persecution coming down the pike. It's coming fast and furious, and I might not be at where you're throwing. Frankly, I don't know. When it comes to mass stuff, I was watching a guy today in Northern Ireland get, just basically assaulted by a mob of cops because he wouldn't wear his mask. It's crazy. I'm saying this is nuts. It's nuts. So who knows? But at the end of the day, I think we've got to learn techniques of the freedom fighters of the past. You know what I'm saying? They say, I don't know if this would be true, but you know how Irish have that dance, the Irish step. Apparently, that was the way they danced. They still danced, but then it showed the English, the Cromwellians and stuff that they were dancing. So they kept their torsos like this, but they're dancing with their feet. I don't know that to be true or not, but check that out. Yikes. That's crazy. At the end of the day, though, I don't know that to be true, but that's what I've heard. The black slaves had ways they talked with song and whatnot. The gays had ways they communicated. I don't know how they did. I don't. The gay movement has played as much interest to me in history as the blacks in America. And the Irish, under the old Oliver Cromwell times and stuff like that. But there's a way to communicate with each other that makes sure I monetize this so I can get that sweet, sweet money, man. So I did get your stuff, Brian. Vinyl Signs. I got it today or yesterday. I did. Mucho gracias. I'll actually hold on. I'll be right back. So actually, before I do that, Brian, can I give your thing a shout out here or what, man? Jonathan Blackman, what's going on? Hey, Dana, what's going on? Pulverizer. Oh, man, Pulverizer. Now, that is funny, man. Anyway, so we got to learn some ways to chat, on my channel because I don't want to get banned, man. I hate to say it. All right. So also on top of that too, right on. Okay, cool. I will. Marie, PA. So Hotep was saying that basically he's behind enemy lines on Twitter and he's behind enemy lines on Facebook. And I thought that was actually a good way to put it. He's like, I'm not getting off until they ban me. Crooked Biden 97. He said, I'm not getting off there because I'm behind enemy lines. And I thought about that. I said, that's actually of interest that he can, Amazon owns Parler servers 100%. I heard Amazon's getting ready to give Parler the big heave-ho. Man, if only there was a Republican president who could do something about this. Oh, yeah. If only there was a Republican Congress who could have done something about that. Oh, yeah, there was. If only there was a Republican Senate with a Republican president who could have done something about this. Oh, there was. I'm on Parler, and I'm on MeWe, and I'm telling you right now, the Trumpsters, of which I'm one, I like Trump, are just. The problem is it is somewhat of an echo chamber, and I think what Hotep Jesus was saying is on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, if you are behind enemy lines, you still might be able to rescue people, if that makes sense. Which I want to start with a quote from the good book. The good book. This is the NIV version. I got all kinds of different versions of the Bible, but anyway, let me read the good book here. So we're going to go to Matthew, Mark. So remember, the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We're going to go to Matthew 6:11. And this is probably one of my favorite passages in the Bible of all times. So Matthew 6:11. All right. Let's see here. Hold on, Justice. That's right. Matthew 6:11. Yes, okay. Right here. I should have got my reading glasses. All right. All right, hold on a second. 6:11. Where the hell, man? All right, hold on just a second. That's not 6:11. What is that? All right. Well, this that's not what. And when you pray, keep every hold on a second for you for forgive men. That's not 6:11. Come on, man. I don't know what happened there. All right, hold on, just let me find it. But this is actually pretty good. All right, do not worry. All right, so Jesus says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, or what you will wear. Is not life more important than food, and the body more important than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Hold on just a second. Yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Who of you would be, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the lilies of the fields grow? They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor, was dressed like one of these. If this is how God clothes the grasses of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you? O ye of little faith. So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? What shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and Heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough troubles of its own. Man, I just want to see. I thought it was 6:11, man. That's not 6:11. All right, hold on just a second, man. I gotta find this passage. Hold on, I can't remember what it was. I thought it was 6:11. Hold on just a second. We're gonna go. All right, the Bible, Jesus, dust off your feet. Yeah, Matthew. Yeah, right here, Matthew 10:14. All right, Matthew 10:14. Maybe that's I forgot what it was. 10:14. All right, right here. Okay, good. 10:14. All right, right here. All right, whatever town or village you enter, search for some worthy person there and stay at his home until you leave. As you enter the home, give it your greeting. If the home is deserving, let your peace rest on it. If it is not, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, shake the dust off your feet when you leave the home or town. I tell you the truth, it'll be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah on the day of judgment for that town. I'm sending you out like a sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes, as innocent as doves. Be on your guard against men. They will hand you over to the local councils and flog you in their synagogues. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what you will say. At that time, you will be giving what to say, for it will be not you speaking, but it will be the Father. The point about that, I tell you, man, believe it or not, I've always think that when it comes back to sales. You offer your sale, right? You make your sale, and people say, I don't want it. We'll move on. Sales 101, man. You can't you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. At the same time, don't argue with people on this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just don't. It's not worth it. Mock them. You know, if they're being stupid, mock them. Or just, but better off, just move on. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to convince people who don't want to be convinced. I cannot stress this enough. You're not going to be convinced. You're not going to convince people who don't want to be convinced. And I've come to the conclusion that regardless of what happened, and you know what, the clean and fair election we had, a number of people like what we're going through. I mean, there's a significant amount of people, regardless of 150,000 on either side of it, there's a huge amount of people who like the shutdowns, like the lack of freedom, like the police showing up and taking you away because you're not wearing a mask. They like this stuff. And you can't convince them otherwise. It's just not, you're not going to be logically able to convince them at all. And it's frustrating. And then one day you got to say, people just like this. Some people just like this. Some people just don't want to work. They want a $2,000 a month UBI. I think more and more people are like that. Some people just want that, and you can't convince them otherwise. And it's like one of those things, like if you ever watch South Park, Cartman was talking to some Latino urban people, and Cartman was teaching a class for Latino kids who are like gang members. And he said, how can I reach these kids? How can I reach these kids? That's what he's saying. It's funny as hell, of course. But the problem is you can't reach them if they want to be reached, if that makes sense. And if you kind of think about then when I was in sales, and I'm still kind of in sales, but when I was in sales with various firms I was working at, it was such a liberating thing to say, these people are going to do what they're going to do. No matter what I say is not going to convince them. It's just not. And Jesus says that. He says, look, if they're not going to hear you, then walk away. And remember, they saw Jesus. They saw the miracles, and they still denied him. You see what I'm saying? All the logic of the world. You're like, dude, it's logical that you would love Jesus and support him when he's being crucified, and yet you turned away from him. The logic of what you saw. It wasn't magic tricks, man. You saw Jesus perform miracles, and yet you still turned from him. It's not logical. It's not even rational. And we're going to sit there and say, this fear, some people need it. And I think more and more people do. And I think we just got to recognize that. Say some people need it. And I think if not a majority, a significant amount of people want the government to take care of them. They do. They're willing to sacrifice freedom, and they want because they don't think it's freedom. Fear is, remember FDR, a pot in every chicken every pot. We're going to have a freedom from fear. Well, fear is self-induced, man. Fear. You create the fear. So how can FDR or any government keep you from fear? Well, they can't. It's insane. It's not rational. It's illogical. But that sells, man. People like fear. They do. They need it. It's almost like people like victim status, because victim status says, I don't have to worry. You can't hold me accountable, Josh. I'm not the bad guy here that I can't succeed. It's somebody else. Hold on just a second. Let me go back and make sure I'm getting that sweet, sweet money on YouTube while I'm still here. Anyway, so I think because I'm sitting there thinking, it's nuts. How can people be okay with this? When I start thinking, they like it. They need it. So hold on, let me just turn on monetization. All right. So if you're going to get the Parler app, I'm going to share with you how to make sure you don't lose it if you have it on an iPhone like I do. All right. So you go. I wonder if I can. I'm not sure I can paste this. Yeah, I guess I can. Let's see if I can do that now. Hold on just a second. I'm going to share with you how to delete or not to lose your Parler app. Hold on just a second. I'm hoping I'm going to put it in the hold on just a second. The comment section here. Yeah. All right, cool. There you go. There it goes. Sweet. All right. So what you do is it's kind of a pain, but you go to settings. This is on iPhones. I don't know how to do it on Android. Settings, screen time. So settings, screen time. Hold on just a second. Blink. There we go. Settings, screen time, content and privacy restrictions. Settings, screen time, content and privacy restrictions. iTunes and App Store purchases. iTunes and App Store purchases. Deleting apps, don't allow. All right. Settings, screen time, content and privacy restrictions. iTunes and App Store purchases. Deleting apps, don't allow. That's how you turn that off. Also, you go to settings. This might be easier, but there's two ways this guy said it. Settings, general, software update, automatic updates, and turn off. Settings, general, software update, automatic updates, and turn off. So, look, man, we gotta do what we gotta do to keep hope alive. Because there's gonna be more of this to come, man. I mean, think about it. They can ban the president of the United States, for heaven's sake. Some guy was saying today, it's like, isn't it funny? They ban the president of the United States for promoting violence and stuff, but yet North Korea, China, and all these guys are not banned. It's like China with slave labor, not banned. North Korea, not banned. I don't know if North Korea's on it. China is, though. I know that for a fact. Iran, not banned. Islamic jihadists, not banned. It's the whole thing's nuts, man. I mean, look, you got to admit it's nuts. They don't want unification. They want retribution. And I tell you, man, you should actually, if you're interested at all, which I am, I'm telling you, man, the politically incorrect guide to the Civil War. Learn all you can about Reconstruction. You will quickly find what you've been told to believe is just learn all you can about Reconstruction, man, because it's not what we've been told to believe. Let's just put it that way. Reconstruction is. I have a sneaky suspicion kind of where we're going, frankly, which is kind of scary, man. Because what the carpetbaggers and the Republicans, the radical Republicans, did to Southern whites who really had nothing to do with the war is pretty evil, especially poor whites, because the poor whites took the brunt of the Reconstruction. It's crazy. Which is why I never understood why the poor whites fought on behalf of the Cavaliers, the rich whites. That never made sense to me. My mom, she always was not a fan of Thomas Jefferson. She said, why is everyone, the guy's a Cavalier, essentially, a rich white guy in the South, why is, landowner and stuff, the vast majority of Southerners had no money. Why? I mean, not quite indentured servants, but why is everyone, giving this guy props? And I'm not that way, but my mom was always a big lefty, and she goes, I don't get it. The whole thing with Thomas Jefferson, at least give someone like Andrew Jackson somebody, because at least he was poor. But Thomas Jefferson, my goodness. Anyway, all right, so let's keep going here. Hold on just a second. All right, so what? Oh, I'll be right back. All right. My man Brian from Vinyl Signs has sent me these. This one is a sticker. It's all right. Oh, I guess I'll say a sticker, a Heritage Wealth Planning Calendar, and one's a magnet which I put on my fridge. I think I got one from him too. I guess I left it over there. Anyway, so Brian from Vinyl Signs in PA. If you guys are interested in getting stuff done up. Brian, you got a website out there? Just put it on the show notes if you would. There we go. All right. So what I want to do here, so Brian from Vinyl Signs in PA, Brian DISCH. I'm not sure what his website is, so if you want to put it on there, Brian, by all means. A couple things I want to go over. This book right here, this is the book that turned me from a lefty commie into the right-leaning libertarian that I am right here. Alan Drury, Come Nive, Come Tire. And just for you all who are new to the channel, I was sitting in a library in Honduras. We're getting ready to go from in Sotocano Air Base. I can't remember. We're getting ready to deploy for 3 weeks to either Tiger Island or someplace up in the mountains. I forgot. And I had like 30 minutes before we had to get in formation and get on the Chinooks. And did we go? Maybe it was Blackhawks. I can't remember if it was Blackhawks or Chinooks. I think it was Blackhawks. Yeah. So we had like 30 minutes, and I can't remember if I didn't have batteries or something. I just remember my Walkman wasn't working because I think I ran out of batteries, and maybe I broke it. And so I was in the library. I needed something to read because I had nothing to do there. You're literally all you're doing. You're sitting there. You're in these little freaking I don't know what they're called, and you're just pulling security for some ungodly reason. I don't know what the hell's going on. You know what I'm saying? I was just an infantryman grunt. And so you get all this, it literally is nothing but downtime. You pull security and you go and you basically that's it. You just sit around, you play spades, and every now and again we go down to the little town down there, which is kind of cool. But anyways, that's all. So anyway, I came across, so as I was rushing to get to formation, I just said, this book looks good. Fire, and that looks good. I had no idea who Alan Drury was. I literally can't judge a book by its cover. Well, I did. I said, okay, that looks good. It's changed my life. It literally changed my life. I read that in probably 3 days in Honduras, and I was crazy. So, all right. So let's hold on just a second. Okay, right here towards the end. This book is frightening. The kind of America they know, and since it is the only America they will ever have known, they will probably be reasonably content if they have enough to eat and sufficient shelter. I am sure history will be rewritten to leave no wistful memories of the dream of free men that died. Give the thought manipulators 20 years and there'll be no memories of anything but things as they are then. This has been the pattern in other countries, and every day new inventions make it easier to achieve in America. I hear the agreement calls for the closest possible coordination of programs between the two governments, this would be the Soviet commies, and guarantee a mutually friendly climate within each nation. This in addition to the abandonment of bases and the subordination of foreign policy. It may not take 20 years. It will take an hour. Books, records, documents, national memories, they can be destroyed or changed by computer in an instant nowadays. It will be very simple and very swift once the process starts in earnest. Are you going to, and then basically what's happening is here is the American left has taken over and capitulated because they thought if they were nice to the commies, that the commies would be nice to them. And then when they realized that the commies were out for blood, it was too late. It's actually interesting. I can't, off the top of my head, I didn't look that hard for it, but there's a guy, basically their version of not a Walter, a writer for like the New York Times, basically Washington Post, a liberal writer who advocated essentially the dereliction of the U.S. president in order to attain peace with the commies. And anyway, the commies basically ultimately take over is what happens. But they don't take over. You don't have like freaking Khrushchev in Washington, D.C., but you have his puppet. It's frightening. I'm telling you right now. And the the Washington Post liberal editorial writer, he says, what have we done? Because they tell him what to write. He goes, well, I don't want to write that. They said, you will. He says, I won't. And then they go and arrest him, and ultimately they execute him. It's crazy, man. And it's nuts. He's sitting there and he's like writing his last words, say, what have I done? I thought, peace on earth meant, goodwill towards all men. He goes, it doesn't mean that. Peace means we do what they tell us to do. It's freaking frightening, man. Alan Drury, come Nave, come tire. I cannot stress, if you want a real live dystopian novel, not with zombies, but real live communist, real live takeover of our institutions, it's frightening. No other way around that. Now, this is literally the commies. This isn't with the oligarchs that we're dealing with today, but it's freaking scary, man. And he had written this or published this in let's see, 1974, or 1973. So it's frightening. And you can't get away from it because you're literally sitting there thinking, what the hell is going on? All right, so then let's just read this. This is so if you substitute communism with oligarchy, all right, it's the same thing, man. The communists do it at the barrel of a gun, but the way they do that is by getting rabble to turn on you. You are the kulaks from the Soviet Union. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with the Red China. You are, if you don't follow, if you have independent thought, you are evil. It's insane, man. And I mean, this is what I've always been trying to say is to people in the United States who say, oh, the market always goes up. And I say, not in the course of human history, my goodness. We've got, how many thousands of years of experience in humanity, and just 200 years of basic, capitalistic mentality with freedom, with the ability to engage in trade without fiefdoms, without oligarchs, with just your ability to have private property. Yeah, I mean, but that's unique in the course of human history. Now you could, say the Magna Carta and all that, but even after the Magna Carta, we had plenty of fiefdoms in, Europe and whatnot, and certainly in England. This idea that the market always goes up, and as such, it will always go up because I'm like, you're talking 1926 till today, in one place in America, in one time frame, basically 4 generations, man. It doesn't mean it always goes up. It doesn't mean it's always going to be better. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm trying to be a realist. Say, okay, what if things go south? My goodness, it's insane. So we're going to read a little bit from this Paul Hall. So this is from Problems of Communism. All right, this is dated 1963. And this is television, the USSR, Soviet economic problems, and then mores and morality under Mao. I want to read you a little bit because this is from 1963. My wife's dad and my wife's mom, they both spoke Chinese, Mandarin. Both are tall, 6'3" for him, probably 6 foot for her. Pale as could be white people speaking Mandarin, which is freaking cool. Now, he was a teacher of Mandarin, of Chinese at Western Kentucky University. And one of his students was a tall, lovely lady who since became my wife's mom later on. And anyway, he also translated for the Department of Defense. Yeah, the DOD. Yeah. Russian, because he spoke Russian. He spoke Chinese. He just had a knack for speaking, and he could teach himself Italian in 2 days flat. It's crazy. So he had all this stuff. I mean, literally like historical documents. It's nuts, man. I got a brochure for the House Un-American Committee. So when the mom died, we went up to the attic, and all his books, and a lot of them are written in Russian. I can't read them. It's nuts. Anyway, and I asked my wife's, brothers and sisters, because there's 9 of them. I said, "Can I have these?" And they said, "Yep." I said, "Man, so for me, as someone who studied the communism, mostly the Russian communism, this is like a freaking it's like Easter or a Christmas morning." Anyway, so privacy, a bastion storm. Now this is from Paul Hollander. Man, if you don't know who Paul Hollander is, now he's since died a couple years back. I think in 2018. Oh my goodness. I got a book back here. Political Pilgrims, which I tell you, man, if you're at all interested in history of why the left gets away with what they get, right here, Political Pilgrims. So you got Cuba, China, and the Soviet Union. And this is just amazing. Why have noted Western intellectuals from George Bernard Shaw to Jean-Paul Sartre, as I say, Susan Sontag, embrace the vision of various revolutionary societies, often their most repressive historical phase, while downgrading and yet enjoying the benefits of Western liberal pluralistic political cultures? How have the delusions of Soviet Union, China, Cuba, and other socialist states contributed to a moral and political double standards? Paul Hollander explores these crucial questions in a remarkable study of travel reports on socialist countries by Western visitors. Observing that political programs represent a tradition of seeking alternatives to flawed social arrangements at home, Hollander also suggests that the underlying these visits is a quest for meaning, a quest for purpose, a sense of community that intellectuals feel increasingly deprived of in secular societies of the West. Political Pilgrims, listed among the notable books of the year, is a provocative study in the relationship between political commitment, perception, and moral sensibility. It's insane. Right here, and this is from the Washington Post. A horribly funny book to be kept close at hand and read whenever we are told of a land where power is wielded in a new way, where the human soul is re-engineered and human nature uplifted. Had a lady post on my YouTube channel just yesterday. She goes, "True socialism has never yet been tried." I hate to say, that's foolish. That's foolish thinking, man. It's nuts. True social. I mean, just the idea that people still think this is insane. Like, how many efforts do we have to go down that road? How many millions of dead bodies before we can say that ain't the way, man? That is not the way, because true socialism has never been tried. Why? Because it never win. It will never happen. It will never happen. People are inherently flawed individuals. So true socialism that created in this woman's mind, and Hillary Clinton's mind, and Joe Biden's mind, and freaking Ralph Warnock's mind, it will never come out, because someone always wants to wield power, and the someone who wants to wield power will do whatever he can do to get the power. And we know what that means. That means he will come after you because you aren't in his way, which is why socialism will never work, man. It can't work. And the reason is because what if I don't want to play? What if you're creating this great, utopia, I don't want part of that? What happens to me? Well, we know what happens to you. All right, so let's read. This is right here. Nothing illuminates the essence of totalitarianism more clearly than the characteristic compulsion of totalitarian regimes to extend their control into every nook and cranny of life of the citizen. his daily activities, his thoughts and attitudes, his moral conduct, his relationship with others, private as well as public. The Chinese communist regime is far from an exception in this regard. In fact, of all totalitarian systems to date, it appears to be the most ambitious and determined in its drive to impose officially prescribed patterns of morality in marital, family, and sexual relationships. Its apparent aim is to politicize all personal relationships and to obliterate any distinction between private and public concerns. Do you hear what the National Association of Realtors is doing now? They're saying if you post something that they deem hate speech, even in your private actions, they're going to ban you from being a realtor. What the hell? Like, who gets to decide what's private? What's hate? And literally, they're going before a judge of NAR realtors to say that was hateful or not. If you are found guilty, you are banned from being a realtor with that realtor thing. I mean, you can still sell houses, but so you post something on, there's a guy from a football coach from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, just got fired. Literally just got fired. Why? Because he says Stacey Abrams is a grifter and she's fat. Stacey Abrams is a fat grifter. He said that on his Twitter feed, and they fired him. I mean, because apparently the students and the alumni are up in arms. I'm sitting there thinking, how many people said horrible things about Donald Trump? None of them got fired. It's crazy. Paul, you might not like politics, but politics likes you. You might think the left will leave you alone. So a University of Tennessee Chattanooga football coach posted something about Stacey Abrams being fat and a grifter, and he got fired on his own. It didn't say anything about his University of Tennessee Chattanooga football coach activity. It's just him, Joe Schmo. And of course, the head coach at University of Tennessee Chattanooga said, yes, we had to fire him because that is horrible. It offends everybody. Dude, it's crazy. It's nuts. You know what I know. It's nuts. The ideological attitudes and aspirations of the Mao regime in the areas of morality and interpersonal relationship may be gleaned from a survey of official statements and comments publicized in Chinese mass media. These pronouncements also shed considerable light on the difficulties that have been encountered in the effort to implement the party line in these spheres, and at the same time, they're suggestive in the inadequacy of the psychological premises on which the regime's policies appear to rest. The main pillar of the Chinese communist ideological position is the party's view of human nature, which it insists upon the indispensable precondition of a correct approach to questions of morality and interpersonal relations. That view has remained unchanged since the early 1950s, barring a fundamental transformation of political system is not likely to undergo modification. And so let's see what they say. So this, to quote an article published in the Chinese Communist Youth Organ, every class has its own human nature. Bourgeois individualists also dream of absolute freedom of personality and set this organization in discipline. However, one's personality can be developed freely, rationally, and healthy only in a revolutionary organization under public supervision with collective help. All absurd theories of human nature must be completely exposed. So what's all absurd theories of human nature must be completely exposed. So similarly, a writer in the Party Theoretical Journal takes issue with a revisionist philosopher named Pa Zhen for erroneously suggesting that human feelings are universally shared. What are human feelings, says Pa Zhen? The human feelings are common to all men. Men share a want for food, a common liking for fragrant flowers. These wants and likings stem from human nature. True, these wants and likings stem from human nature, but do the hostile classes and class society have wants and likings of the same character? Some want to obtain food through exploitation and do not allow others to eat to the full. Some want to drink water and expect others to drink it also, but some also want to drink the blood of others. Is there anything common in between us? So basically saying, by you saying we have the same wants, you're overlooking the fact that some people's wants, I don't need to explain that. All right, so I want to read this right here. Remnants and germs of individualism. Judging from the volume of discussion and the intensity which is condemned in the party press, Individualism is regarded as one of those basic traits of bourgeois mentality whose persistent remnants of present-day Chinese society constitute a major threat to the regime's effort to inculcate correct, i.e. communist behavior patterns. On closer inspection, this individualism reveals itself to consist of a varied assortment of apolitical aspirations, ambitions, and attitudes, especially aspirations towards greater material and spiritual comforts. Example would be a personal preference for urban rather than rural living, the desire to attain a higher education, the desire to have a better job in line with one's special trainings, without due regard for the current needs of the economy, or even a simple wish to choose one's friends or spouse from among persons of like background or education. That's too individualistic for the Chinese commies. I mean, look, we can laugh at this. If I would have told you a year ago today that 1 year later we would be doing, the president of the United States would be banned, we would be forced to wear masks, you could not see your friends and families on Thanksgiving and Christmas, you would have thought I'd went crazy. And you'd be right. People who say that would have been crazy. But here we are. It's crazy. Oh, my goodness. So I want to read you something right here. Can one love a class enemy? Some people, this is from Chinese literature. Some people ask, why is it that people of an antagonistic classes can also fall in love with each other? Doesn't this show that love has no class character? In our opinion, this is an entirely erroneous argument. There have been people from antagonistic classes who would fall in love with each other, but such a thing can only happen when the world outlook of one party was influenced by another class to such an extent that change set in, thus engendering some common ideological foundation. So basically, if you fall in love with someone not of your class, inherently you are of the other class, and shoops, you need to be treated as such. And they talk about the correct handling of love, the public versus private love. But I want to read right here. This is literally from Shenghua Xingnian. I can't read that. Shenghua Xingnian, June 1st, 1960. In a capitalist society, as Marx and Engels aptly put in the Communist Manifesto, the bourgeois tears apart the sentimental veil with which family relation is draped and turns this kind of relationship into a simple and straightforward monetary relationship. To show their love for children, the most essential thing for the bourgeois is to spend more money on their children so that may be fostered as heirs to their own exploitive undertakings. They expect to earn double the amount in interest on every cent spent on their children. Sometimes this kind of monetary relationship is made even more bald. In the novel Midnight, for example, capitalist Fen Yun-ching, for the sake of making money, told his daughter to submit herself to the bigger capitalist. In America today, a son is known to have planted a time bomb in his mother's luggage so that he may inherit her wealth at an earlier date. This is the inevitable outcome of maternal love. Some people say that maternal love of the bourgeois intellectuals is more pure and seems not to bear that stink of money. As a matter of fact, this is the kind of maternal love differs in no way from the bourgeois category. They educate their children with a bourgeois moral outlook and want them to study well, to stand out from other young people, and to reap fame and profit. Many young people who follow the white road to vocational proficiency are deeply contaminated by this kind of maternal love and are trapped in the quagmire of individualism. The maternal love of the proletariat is also based on its own moral standard. It agrees in its entirety with the proletarian struggle for the liberation of all oppressed people. The mother of Huang Chukang loved her sons in the same way as she loved the 650 million people. After Huang Qisong sacrificed his life, the heroic mother dedicated her second beloved son to the fatherland. She thought that she could show her greatest love to her son in this way. Under the reign of white terror, the revolutionary mother of Comrade Tao Shang sent her sons to stand the test of the struggle. She found the greatest comfort in sending her sons one after the other down the revolutionary road. All those are the characteristics of the communist maternal love in the communist society with class and private ownership eliminated. Maternal love will bear no class status and will be cut loose completely from the ideological influence of private ownership. It's just, oh, man, it's just so much stuff that these are from the words of Down with the Family, a yellow page from Russia's revolutionary past. From Communism in the Family, this is by Alexandra Kollontai. Anyway, I'm not going to read that, but the point is there is no individualism or privacy in totalitarian states. There's none. And the idea that what we're dealing with now is just we're going to police up some bad apples. It's not policing up bad apples, man. They've been policing up bad apples. The bad apples are getting more and more and more, if you know what I'm saying. So you've got to find a way to separate yourself from this. I frankly, I don't know how. I'm thinking about it, but I'm sitting there saying to myself, you can see what's happening, man. I tell you, I used to think, this won't happen here. Americans love their freedom. I don't think that's the case anymore. I just don't. I literally don't. There's no way that you can convince me, regardless of how the election, how true it was or not, the facts are, like I just said, lots of Americans, lots of Republicans even, conservatives, supposedly independent small government people, were so scared, they still are, that they're willing to lock up society to alleviate their fear. Their fear leads them. It does. It's freaking nuts, man. And they might say the same thing about me. Oh, you're so feared of a government takeover. I'm like, yeah, I am. Because history shows that. And what are we dealing with right now? We're dealing with that right now. It's nuts. And yet and then the main platforms that we use as a public square are banning people who they say don't show the values of American society. All the while they're allowing other people the same exposure. The whole thing is nuts, man. So just one more thing I want to read from Bastiat. I've read the Frederick Bastiat a couple of times. This is the law. I just been thinking about this all day. I'm sitting there thinking, where does this end? How do we get through these kids? And I don't have the answer, but I think having the answer is saying, look, man, first stand up. Don't cower. You can't cower. It's too late for that. Too late. And this is what kind of think. And at the end of the day, some of you'll be mad, but I'm not sure Trump was the guy. I'm not, in terms of fighting the fight going forward. I think Trump did good. Let's put it that way. Trump, and I saw Mike Pompeo said he's standing by Trump, that he thinks Trump and his administration will be recognized, looked on fondly through history. I actually agree with that. I think the 4-year run, 3 of the 4 years of run of Trump were freaking phenomenal. I think his last year was horrible. I really, really do. I do. And I know a lot of Trumpers hate when I say that, but that should not have ever happened with a Republican president. What we went through last year should never have happened. No way. In fact, I guarantee it would not have been nearly as bad if it was a Democratic president, because a lot of Republicans would not have fallen in. They wouldn't. Because Republicans look at everything from an election to an election perspective. They say, okay, let's just get through this, get Trump reelected. We'll retain the Senate, maybe pick up some seats in the House, get some governorships. And then this is what the Republican Party always does. And then we can fight. We'll just, we'll allow the Obamacare. We'll do this. Then we can fight. You see what I'm saying? They always do that. And it never works. They just look at the short term. Democrats are good. They look at the long term. The short term, we can't have short term looking anymore, because we've given up so much to win some elections while we're giving up the freaking. We take a step forward and 2 to 3 steps back. It's just nuts, and it can't happen anymore. And the facts are, I think Trump and I think a lot of Republicans, they want to be liked more than they want to fight. And even with Trump, I think, I'm telling you right now, man, no way he should have kept Fauci in there. No way, no how. No way he should have thrown his supporters under the bus like he did. No way, no how. But the facts are, they went against him, and Trump felt that hurt him politically. And look, I'm a huge supporter of Trump. I'll never be ashamed of that. I will always be a Trumpster. But I feel at the end of the day that he hurt himself drastically with some of his moves. He really did. It might not have been him per se, but the people he hired. And that's just, that's the problem. When, I hate to say it, but you want so badly to be liked. I really, really believe that. And I know some of you would be mad at that. I'm fine with that. I'm comfortable with that. I'm not sure if he would have won 4 more years, much different would have happened, to be honest with you. I mean, they wouldn't have banned him on Twitter. I get that. Apple wouldn't be banning Parler. I get that. But, to be perfectly honest with you, some people are saying this. The only reason the whole Harvey Weinstein stuff came out in the Me Too movement was because Hillary did not give them the protection because she didn't win. The fact that Trump won exposed some pretty bad stuff on the left that they didn't have the coverage they would have before, if that made sense. And I think that's just true to some degree. And I also think it's true that the left got real animated with Trump in there, and they recognized no one stopped him. No one stopped him, if that makes sense. And they were, and as such, there is now no one to stop them. No one was stopping him when they're banning Alex Jones and Milo, whatever his name is, Yana. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. No one was stopping him. Slowly but surely, more and more people get banned. No one is stopping them. No one is in there to say no. And now there is no one to do that. And so as such, it's because I think we're all relying on Trump, and he didn't do it, man. Now, as such, I think it's going to be more on a more personal level where you say, I'm not going to allow this to happen for my own sake. And that's good. And that's good. Freedom, you have to take charge of your own freedom. And it's frustrating that this had to happen this way, but look, man, at the end of the day, we know YouTube's going to ban all kinds of people. Hell, they've already done it. If you can't have access to Parler, if you can't have access to, BitChute, the conservative treehouse, WordPress banned them. It's just a blog. WordPress banned conservative treehouse. I saw a guy today get banned because he supported Trump. I forgot. This is crazy stuff. And crazy. And it happened under a Trump administration. It's nuts. All right. So just real quick. Victims of lawful plunder from Bastia, the law. And you can get anything from Frederick Bastiat you can get for free. You should always pay as a donation to the folks who give it to you for free. But men naturally rebel against the injustice for which they are victims. Thus, when plunder is organized by law for the profit of those who make the law, all the plundered classes try to somehow to enter by peaceful or revolutionary means into the making of laws. So when plunder is organized by law for the profit of those who make the law, all the plundered classes try to enter by peaceful or revolutionary means into the making of the laws. According to their degree of enlightenment, these plundered classes may propose one of two entirely different purposes when they attempt to attain political power. Either they may wish to stop lawful plunder, or they may wish to share in it. Who do you think? And that's where I love Trump. He wished to stop it. Unfortunately, everyone up there in that swamp wishes to share in it. Everyone. R, D, L, G. L is libertarian, G is green. They all wish to share in it. All of them. Woe to the nation when this latter purposes, those who wish to share with it, prevails among the mass of victims of lawful plunder when they are, in turn, seize the power to make laws. Until that happens, the few practice lawful plunder upon the many, a common practice where the right to participate in the making of the law is limited to a few persons. But then participation in the making of the law becomes universal. And then men seek to balance their conflicting interests by universal plunder. Instead of rooting out the injustices found in society, they make these injustices general. As soon as the plundered classes gain political power, they establish a system of reprisals against other classes. Just what we're seeing now. They do not abolish legal plunder. This objective would demand more enlightenment than they possess. Instead, they emulate their evil predecessors by participating in this legal plunder, even though it's against their own interests, i.e., it is as if it were necessary before a reign of justice appears for everyone to suffer a cruel retribution, some for their evilness and some for their lack of understanding. And so that's where we're going to be here for the next few years. We're going to suffer a retribution, not for our own evilness, but for a lack of understanding, our hope to play fair when the other side doesn't want to play fair. Now, the other side, who felt they were denied what was theirs, they're going to play. It's going to be hostile, man. There's no other way around that. It's going to be hostile. And as I sit here today, I say, man, you can see that a mile away. They're pissed, and they got power, and they're not hesitant to use it. And there's not going to be any media to stop them. Jim Acosta, whatever the hell that guy's name is, he's going to be right there with the pitchforks coming after you, not the government now, but coming after you because you dare to stay. Oh, wait a second, stop. Point being, you can't beat this now. It's too late. So how do you keep your sanity? Well, as always, you turn to the good book, man. I mean, everything is in here. I mean, everything you could possibly know is in here. I mean, Jesus, if there is a rabble rouser of historical times, Jesus was number one, man. You're just not going to find a bigger rabble rouser than that. And what, he had 12 with him, you know what I'm saying? And a couple of prostitutes and women and stuff. The story of Jesus is insane. It's insane. It's awesome. But we got to keep our sanity. And our sanity says, look, they're coming after us. By hook or by crook, they're coming. And again, you got to watch what you say. If you're in a crappy old job, but you have to be there because of whatever, your health and care, and your wife is not in good place and you need the health care, you can't be going on social media and getting drunk and spouting crap. You can't. You've got to watch what you say, man. You got to top in cryptoese, as Hotep Jesus was saying. You've got to go into find a group, either online or a local community, where you can share your frustrations, but make sure that only people allowed in that local group are people you trust. If you're going to speak openly, if that makes sense, because they're coming, man, and they're coming hard. And if they're saying people can lose their jobs for calling Stacey Abrams fat and a grifter, you're going to lose your job. There are people who are supporting. They dropped a guy from a record label today because he was at a Trump rally. Just the whole thing is insane. And so and what happens is the left, the white guilt that the left has, because the whites run all this stuff, and they got nothing but guilty. They're guilty as hell, and they don't run it all. I mean, there's some liberal Asians and all that stuff. I get that, but the white guilt is what perpetuates all this stuff. And so what happens is the white guilt, the virtue signaling that they need to survive, to feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves because they don't believe in God. How many people, the Trumpsters, can they send packing into the welfare line? You see what I'm saying? It's coming. It's coming. They're going to do that. You got to be prepared, man. You got to be prepared, and you got to watch what you say. You can't. I'm telling you, and I'm telling you right now, if you're not working because you're retired and you're at a good place, that's fine too. But you need to have some level of ability to sustain yourself as well, because it's coming, man. I mean, we're not going to be like, as I saw a video from NTD. They follow Chinese news and they speak in English, thankfully, or else I wouldn't be able to understand it. There's a guy in China who was smoking a cigarette under a light post while he was waiting for a bus. He got a text message from the government saying, you should not smoke in public. Smoking is bad. And what are you doing to quit? It's nuts. It's nuts. And it's insane. Now, is that here today? No, but it's coming. It's coming. Just look how far and fast we've lost our liberty. And again, that was under a Republican president. The one silver lining, again, I think, is this, as bad as it would have been, as it was under a Republican president, it's just not going to be as bad. I mean, it'll be bad. It'll be probably worse, but there will be fighting finally from the Republican Party. The people who fought back against it, Brian Kemp in my own state of Georgia, were just thrown under the bus. Thrown under the bus, man. And I don't know, by Trump. And so that inherently said to other people, Greg Abbott, I'm not campaign support. And so Greg Abbott implemented a mask mandate. I don't know why Trump didn't go after Kristi Noem. Maybe he did up in South Dakota. I don't know why. But maybe it's because Brian Kemp was the first. And it just is frustrating. Anyway, I talked about that. So you got to watch yourself. Watch yourself. Because they're coming. And they ain't happy. And they want retribution. Man, did I have something on here from C.S. Lewis? I think I did. Yeah, we'll end with, then I'll see what you all have comments on here. This is from C.S. Lewis. The historical Jesus, then, however dangerous he may seem to be to some of us at a particular point, is always to be encouraged. If you're not familiar, the historical Jesus is just fake nonsense. About the general connection between Christianity and politics, our position is more delicate. This is the devil right now, right? Our position, the position from a guy who represents Satan, is more delicate. Certainly, we do not want men to allow their Christianity to flow over into their political life. For the establishment of anything like a really just society would be a major disaster. On the other hand, we do want very much to make men treat Christianity as a means, preferably, of course, a means to their own advancement, but failing that, as a means to anything, even to social justice. I was listening to, I never liked the head of the Southern Baptist Convention there, Russell Moore. I've always thought that guy. I don't know why you guys, Southern Baptists, voted for that guy. I knew immediately when the language he was using, and I think he was elected in 2010, that he was a squish. And he just recently came up with something. And look, I'm Catholic, you know what I'm saying? And that, so I'm not a Southern Baptist, so I can't speak on behalf of Southern Baptists because that's not me. But my Pope is, the same kind of thing. My God, my Pope, does he even Christian? I don't know. But anyway, the Russell Moore, that's the name. Yeah, he said some insane, stupid stuff the other day about the stuff that's going on. I said, man, using Christianity as a means for advancement in order to pursue social justice, because the virtue signaling there, I get so much more value by virtue signaling by my social justice than I do by following a true path of Jesus. The thing to do is get a man at first to value social justice as a thing for which the enemy, that would be God, demands, and then work him onto the stage in which he values Christianity because it may produce social justice. Do you see what C.S. Lewis is saying? To get a man at first to value social justice because God demands we love every single person on this earth as we love each other. God says, forgive all. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. You see what I'm saying? That's what social justice is. It's not to cancel them, to ban them, to have them fired social because they say something you don't like. It's to love people and forgive them and to pray for them. Pray for your enemies for heaven's sake. But the thing to do is get a man to value social justice because that is what God demands. And then work him onto the stage at which he values Christianity because Christianity may produce social justice. So I'm using not social justice because of the demands of God. I'm using the demands of God, Christianity, for the end game, which is social justice, which is insanity on steroids. For the enemy, God will not be used as convenience. Men or nations who think they can revive the faith in order to make a good society may just as well think they can use the stairs of heaven as a shortcut to the nearest chemist shop. Did you hear that? C.S. Lewis, man, but how's this not divine? Men or nations who think they can revive the faith in order to make a good society might just as well think they can use the stairs of heaven as a shortcut to the nearest chemist shop. Fortunately, it's quite easy to coax humans around this little corner. Only today, I've found a passage in a Christian writer where he recommends his own version of Christianity on the ground that only such a faith can outlast the death of old cultures and the birth of a new civilization. You see the little rift? Believe this, not but because it's true, i.e., Jesus' resurrection, but because for some other reason, and that's the game. his own version of Christianity. Only such a faith can outlast the death of old cultures and the birth of new civilizations. So follow me because of this, whatever it is, social justice, not because it's true that Jesus was reborn. And as Paul said, if Jesus wasn't reborn, it's all for naught. I mean, that's, we got to recognize that. You know, Jesus' rebirth, it doesn't matter. And that's what matters. Jesus either was reborn, he was not. That's all there is to it. And if he was reborn, as a Christian should believe, then look, I'm guilty. Hell, man, I've freaking sinned more than all you combined times 25 million, guaranteed. And Paul said the same thing. Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, Paul, the author, said the same thing. And you too, you've committed more sins than all of us combined. We all have, man. It's nuts. And that's what you got to turn back to when things get tight. And that's, in some ways, it's a good. But you can't say, oh, my goodness, we need God to save us from society. No, we need God because God is true and God is great. And God always knows. And he always wins. Not because we need God as a convenience. And he doesn't suffer fools that way. And look, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying for me, I'm saying this to myself. Don't say, God, make this pain go away so we can, I don't know, have better 401k or whatever the hell it is. In fact, if anything, if you look at history, at least the last 30 years, under Republicans have been worse for 401ks and IRAs and investments than Democrats. So in that case, you'd want the Democrats. All right, so I want to read this right here. In Bakersfield today, the Bank of America was closed and you could not get money out from the bank, and the ATMs were not working correctly either. Look, man, you can see what's going on. Now, this is just one small potatoes instance. Kim is not the only one who says things along those lines. After the bomb in Tennessee, same thing happened many miles away, actually. I've heard that from other people up that way. Same thing. You couldn't access the bank machines. Credit card processes weren't working. So, again, you have cash on hand. We are going to a cashless society. I don't know how fast, but we are that's happening. But in the interim, cash on hand just to make sure you have enough to pay the bills. Have some gold, have some silver. Look, I'm not freaking doomsday prepping. I'm just saying at the end of the day, where things look like they're coming. And if we just backtrack a year ago, and we were looking, and I sat here today and said all these things are going to happen, you would have thought I was insane. But it happened a year later. What could happen in the next year? I don't know. But why not be prepared, for heaven's sake? All right. Bank of America said it was from COVID issues. Jeez, man. Where's Hunter? I don't know. Don't care. I mean, literally at this stage, it's just, Rosemary. Yeah, so someone says invest in crypto. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing that. I just do. I don't know. Look, I'm ignorant to the most part. Now, I listen to a lot of, I listen to Jack Spurko, the Survival Podcast, and I suggest you all do too. I listen to other podcasts and YouTube channels which are centered around alternative media, alternative energy, just alternative stuff. And alternative would be one thing, of course, would be currency. It hasn't convinced me yet, man. I'm just not convinced. I'm not. But right here, my man Jake said it best. And getting debt free is one of the best ways to survive. I cannot stress that enough, man. See, here's the problem. This guy says he bought one crypto, Ethereum, at 780 last week against 1,300 tonight. We notice what's happening here, though. See, this is the problem I have with the crypto people. Is it still based on currency that we use today to value it? You see what I'm saying? And so he says he's going to sell it when it hits 2,500. So that's speculative. That's not a currency replacement. That's a speculative investment. The greater fool theory. And hopefully individual one can get out as not before he's the greater fool. At the end of the day, though, that doesn't bode for me to say anything other than speculation. It doesn't bode to say that's going to be a replacement of some kind of dollar-based system, be it through a Fed cryptocurrency or cashless-based society or not. So that's where I don't want to invest in it, because it's still being used as a value relative to the current value that we put a dollar bill on, if that makes sense. That just seems kind of odd to me. We hate the dollar bill so much that we're going to invest in an alternative to the dollar bill, and then we're going to value that alternative to the dollar bill by how much dollar bills it gives me. I find that odd. Yep. Digital dollar. Right. Someone said that. Oops. Right. There is going to be a digital dollar. It's coming, man. And they're going to use it under the same stuff they do with all the crap they give to us under Republicans and Democrats. The dollar has COVID on it. The dollar has cocaine on it. The dollar has disease. Too many dollars out there lead to drug trafficking, all the same stuff. It leads to criminal activity. Well, you put criminal activity with privacy, and there you go. But it's happened, man. Necessary to destroy the dollar, so we need Democrats that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not all that convinced of that yet. Yeah, I saw that with right here. John Matsey just made the point. You effing scumbags, dude. The oligarchy is here. Twitter, you know that Twitter has like child porn on there? I've never been on Twitter. But I was listening to somebody the other day. It's like, dude, I didn't know there's all kinds of stuff on Twitter that it's nuts. And they had a thing, hang Mike Pence on there or something like that. And yet, Parler is. I tell you, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There is enough Republicans out there who can look. I get it. You can't vote this is the libertarian in me says, look, let's vote harder next time. I get it. Your vote doesn't matter. I just can't believe that, because I know for a fact your vote matters. The reason I know that is because I've seen things change because of the way people vote. If the vote didn't matter, who knows what the commies would have done? Who knows? Do you really think that Walter Mondale would have been able to destroy the commies the way Reagan did? If the vote didn't matter in the UK, there would be no Maggie Thatcher. Do you really think? I mean, I cannot fathom the idea that your vote doesn't matter when I see we had two explicitly different viewpoints in Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. And I don't know who ran against Maggie Thatcher, but a socialist. England was heavily socialist back then. Two specific different viewpoints. And one won, and thus the world became where we are today. Now, it's nuts where it is today, but it doesn't mean it would not have been nuts in 1984 if Mondale won, or if 1981 if what's the name won. I don't know. But the idea that your vote doesn't matter because, Amazon, I get that. More often than not, it doesn't. But the problem is you don't know when that more often than not is going to be. You don't know when that time is they need your vote. I cannot stress this enough. And don't forget, it wasn't a slam dunk that Reagan was going to win. I'm telling you right now, all these fools would say, oh, everyone knew Reagan was going to win. No, they did not. No, they did not. You can look at the headlines. I did a video on this. About a month out, they still had a tie of Reagan and Carter, man. So in the polls. So don't give me that crap. There's obviously that Reagan was going to win from freaking Jump Street. No, hell it was. Hell it was. In fact, if anything, Reagan was the underdog going into about August or so, maybe June. But they thought Reagan was nuts. The Republican Party didn't like him. That's why John Anderson split off, because this guy's nuts. I'm not going to support this guy. No different than Mittens. Nuts. Anyway, so the issue that I think we have here is that I think we got a bunch of Republicans down ballot who are pissed. And they're saying this has got to stop, man. Now, I do think there's also a lot of Republicans that like it for the sweet, sweet money. Don't get me wrong. But I think there's a bunch of Republicans who are saying, no, this is nuts. I mean, Kelly Ward, who runs the Arizona Republican Party, for instance, she's a doctor. I'm not sure what her specialty is, but, she ain't playing. You know what I'm saying? Now, there's a lot of Republicans that are like, oh, just give me my pound of silver. I'll go on my merry way, Jeff Bezos. They'll sell their souls to rock and roll. I get that. I don't think they're the mainstream of the Republican Party. I just don't. I think there's a lot of Republicans who are ready to go, and they're saying, no, we're going to battle this. And I'm telling you, it's going to go back to the states. The states have got to reclaim authority over their voting mechanism. They've got. I don't know what the hell happened here in Georgia. I for the love of me, I don't. I don't think Brian Kemp is a tool of the Communist Party. I don't even think Puffy is either. I don't believe that. I think it's more simple. That's just too deep. I think at the end of the day, it's just keep it simple. Brian Kemp and Puffy, they bought into the Dominion. They got a sales pitch. They got sold. Man. And anyone who buys a product and then they see the product sucks. I just think I've got people all the time that they buy an annuity and they're sheepish about it. They feel kind of guilty for buying an annuity. I said, look, it's no big. It's water on the bridge now. It's a sunk cost, and we might be able to make this work. But I can almost hear, and sometimes when they have their wife right there on an investment they made or something like that, they're like, yeah, my wife, she never really, they're apologetic, but they're self-defensive or defensive. And I that's no different than Puffy. He made a mistake. He could not own up to it because it would have been a mistake in front of many people. And he says, I'm going to lie my way out of this, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Like when, you get caught in a lie when you're a kid, and you forgot what the lie was you got caught in. So now you got a lie to cover up that lie, and you got a lie and that's what happened to this guy. He just caught, man. He got caught making a bad decision. Kemp got caught not policing up the bad decision his own Secretary of State made with our tax money, by the way. And they probably got scared crapless. They probably thought, man, I'm going to be impeached over this because I wasted $100 million of Georgia taxpayer money. So what I'm going to have to do is just, fake like this is all on the up and up. And I don't think it's anything more than that. I don't think it's anything dastardly. I do not think Brian Kemp and Puffy are on the communists. I do not think that Brian Kemp and Puffy are, secretly supporting what's her name, Stacey Abrams. No, I actually think if anything, they recognize. Hopefully they recognize they made a bad choice. They said, "Oh man, I got to scramble. We didn't do enough, and now it's going to come back on us because we're the ultimate. The buck stops here." On top of that, Trump sold him down the river, or at least Brian Kemp, when he said Brian Kemp, he's risking Georgian lives by opening up the economy. I just think that's what's happening. No more than that. It's just what's the word I'm looking for? When you're trying to CYA, but your self-esteem. It's to cover the self-esteem. How do you like this new waves of migrants heading here? I don't know. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't get. I tell you, man. There's going to come a time. There's going to come a time. I hope we'll see. Who doesn't like illegal immigrants more than anybody? It's not rich whites out in the suburbs. I'll tell you that right now. Is urban blacks. And urban blacks still vote in mass amounts for the Democrats. And I know for a fact that urban blacks are pissed at how much the Democrats threw love at illegal immigrants for many, many years. There is no coincidence that these last 12 months, since George Floyd, Democrats recognizing that blacks are freaking fed up or taken for granted, start throwing all kinds of love at black people. No coincidence there at all. The question is, now that the vote has been achieved, will they do what they always do to black people, which is say, all right, see you. You see what I'm saying? And if these immigrants come here and get the love as the Democratic Party has shown for, for years, I would think that would drive a lot of black people away from the Democrats. Because say every single time we vote for you guys en masse, and every single time you sell us down for illegal immigrants. And Kamala is in there. She's not American black. She's Jamaican, man. And I think I'm telling you right now, there's a big enough ADOS movement, American descendants of slavery, that's pissed off. They're willing to vote. Look, I can't speak to them. I don't know them. I've talked to a few. I was interviewed by one or two, but I don't think they're going to take. I hope. Maybe it's just my wishful thinking. I thought the Democrats or Republicans would get 20% of the black vote. Didn't happen. I think Trump got 15, which is pretty good, but that's still not enough, man. If we get 20%, that'd be great. But this last election was just insane. But at the end of the day, the illegal immigrant thing, I don't think it's as cut and dry as what a lot of people think it is. I don't think so. So we shall see. I think the blacks were able to support Obama because he's the first. I get that. I'm not quite so sure they're going to do the same. Kamala didn't get any. I mean, she got no love in the primaries. Biden saved the blacks saved Biden in South Carolina. That's just a fact. Kamala had no love. So if Biden goes as other Democrats, just loving on the illegals at the expense of blacks, that could be painful for them. It's going to be fun to watch. When you have identity group and identity group and identity group, some identities are going to be pissed because they're not getting the love that they were promised. It's no different than the Muslims and the gays. I mean, there's a significant difference there in the worldview. At some point, that's going to fracture. It really is, and it'll be fun to watch, man. At some point, one of these things cannot coexist. It can't. As I was talking the other day, I was watching a guy in England Brendan O'Neill on his podcast. Listen to him, and he's from England, and he was talking about how the Muslims were the ones rebelling against the woke teaching of the English. I guess they call them private schools, which are public schools here. Various we won't say anymore. We'll have to use cryptic language. Various things that don't make any sense when it comes to biology, if that makes sense. And the Muslims were the ones that stood firm, and that created a nice little rift in that community of the Labour Party. And this guy was saying, the Muslims are going to be the next group that abandons the Labour Party in England. And I kind of think that might be the same here. Remember, the people who got the money get all the people who got the money are the wealthy urban elite, if that makes sense. They're not the wealthy urban elite got the money. They're John Ossoff, man. There's no other way around that. I still can't believe that guy's my senator. I cannot believe it. Oh, it's crazy. I don't look. Raphael Warnock. Whatever. I don't like the guy, but hell, at least he's real. Friggin' Ossoff is just a clown. He's a Beto Jr., man. I can't. Just another rich kid. Crazy. But be that as it may. So these groups are going to come to a head, and it'll be fun to watch them split off, and then they can come to the Republican Party where all are welcome. Are all welcome. Yeah. All right, Drew, some guy named Drew Mariani, Relevant Radio, amazing Christian conservative, very in tune with today's issues. Cool. Yeah, Rosemary says she grew up in a single sinful time and she went right along. Haven't we all, man? Haven't we all? Throughout the dawn of mankind. G.K. Chesterton, yep, or Chesterton, right on. Great Christian thinkers in St. Paul. Wow, great. Yep, and don't forget Augustine and Thomas Aquinas. Lots of our modern ones. John Lennox, the C.S. Lewis Institute. We got lots of good modern thinkers here. Look at the Discovery Institute. Right here. So Discovery Institute out of Seattle. Darwin's Doubt, Stephen Meyer. Lots of good contemporary writers with science backgrounds, because you have to have a science background to comment on science. If you don't have a science background, how dare you comment on science? Can you imagine saying the same thing? If you never served in the infantry, how dare you comment on military? That's stupid, man. The whole thing's dumb. I hate that. Okay, well, let's say I have a science background. Well, you need to have a PhD to comment on science, because you don't have a science background. You don't have a PhD. That's freaking stupid. I hate this idea that credentialed, like, oh, you're so credentialed, so I bow to you. It's like, wow. All you did is you regurgitated what the freaking philosophy was of the day. That's what school is. The professor wants you to regurgitate what the professor wants you to think. We all know that. That's why I forgot who it was who said, Richard Feynman, maybe. I don't think it was him. Who the hell was that? Anyways, not Nassim. I forgot. I can't remember, but a pretty prominent guy Mandelbrot. Anyway, somebody said basically, I can't, wasn't any of those guys. They said that the only way for new thinking in the academia or academia is for the old professors to die off. Like for instance, the whole thing with low fat foods, no meats, high carbs, grains and things like that. That's Ansel Keys. And Ansel Keys from the University of Minnesota spread his vulture tentacles throughout of all academia for nutrition science. And the only way for that to have been obliterated now is from all those people of that generation, those professors and academics to die off, to let new breeds come in who are challenging it. But how many people that were, Dr. Atkins and stuff like that, were just literally abused. And there's another guy too, I forgot his name, who was a non-person, who was a deplatformed non-person. At some point, there's enough of those people, thankfully, that once the old regime dies off, the new thinking kind of starts to begin to take over. And then the new thinking becomes the old thinking, and so on and so on. The question that we have now is that in academia, they're not letting anyone else in. I mean, it's literally, you will toe the line on climate change. You will toe the line on nutrition science. You will toe the line on America's evil. You will toe the line on, fluidity of your biology, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, crypto languaging here. You will toe the line or you will be non-person. We know that for a fact. And that's why I'll probably delete this video, because I'm trying to be very crypto in my languaging, so that way I don't get another check mark on my YouTube. That's why these live streams are always dangerous, because I could say something that someone might be offended. I had a guy who said, I was talking to a client today. I said, we're just talking about the chaos. And I said, I've had people on my channel say, I've reported you. And I said, I'm like, you're a grown man. It just is weird to me. Like, I don't even know where to go to report somebody. Like if some guy says something wacky that I don't, the idea of it doesn't even, like, I can't even fathom the idea of saying, YouTube, this guy is saying something that no one else should hear. That's so freaking weird to me. It's the weirdest thing ever. And this guy said, I reported you for saying, I don't know, something about this or something. I was like, you're like a grown man, and you're like, report, like, what are you in freaking elementary school? I'm telling the teacher, Josh, you said something that offended me. I'm like, what the hell? I can't. And I'm like, and not only did you do it, but you said it like as a badge of honor. You're courageous. You report. It's the weirdest thing. He goes, I reported you to no avail from YouTube, but hopefully they'll take action at some point. It's the weirdest freaking thing in the world. How soft we got, where someone's viewpoint differs from yours, and your first thing is to run to mommy and daddy and to tell on them. It's freaking weird, man. And then to say it with, like, it's a way to say, look how strong, I'm a strong man. All right. So Scott Lewis says they'll raise interest rates. Like, man, they're not raising interest rates. I'm telling you right now. Now, interest rates could go up because of, like, what we're seeing now, as we see the 10-year Treasury and the 30-year Treasury take a jump. It's not because they raise interest rates, the Federal Reserve Board. It's because people are selling their bonds, man. I mean, that's what happened. Bonds, the price of bonds goes up, the interest rates go down, the yield of rates go down. The price of bonds goes down, the yield of rates go up. And so the rates have risen, but the yield is still, the yield has risen, but the actual coupon of said bond is still the same. So it's supply and demand. So just, you all got to remember that they don't just raise rates. They can, but the federal government has no incentive at all to increase rates, because that is a bigger debt payment they have to pay. And there is no money. I hate to say it, there's no money. Social justice. Yep. No, right on. I 100%. That's yeah, 100%, man. It's it's weird, man. Let's see. Wormwood. Yep. Black Mirror episode. Yep. Reminds me of Civil War, Trust in God. Better not say that out loud. Hope you're not too naive. This not going away in a few years. The greatest country of the world would be Venezuela. Interesting. Scott magazine bans Yeah, yeah, right. I saw that. Proud Boys leader was charged for dangerous weapons, magazines, no gun. And remember when David Gregory at NBC News showed a banned magazine while he was in DC on one of his reports? He didn't get arrested. The whole thing's freaking nuts, man. I mean, just yeah. Oh yeah, they're going to go after Trump big time for taxes, without question. All right, my man Robert says, here's a seed for you to buy a Jewish literal translation Bible. It's amazing. Oh man, that's fantastic. Thanks, Robert. You're a good man. I don't care what they say about you. They're not. They're going to go for ammo. That's a fact. They never go for. They can't go for. I mean, they can do whatever they want. They're not going for guns. Ammo is always the easy one. Remember, they try to put a huge tax on lead or something like that. Main reason I don't talk to white people at university, too out of touch with minorities, says Javier. I don't talk to white. That's kind of racist, big guy, because you don't to say white people are too out of touch. You can't do that, brother. I mean, you don't know. I mean, is that guy out of touch because he's white? I mean, how do you know that? You can't do that. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want. I don't care. But if you're to walk by a white guy, I can't talk to you. You're too out of touch. That's pretty racist. Don't be racist. I'm not going to ban you or anything. But I think it's funny that you said that too out of touch minority. Especially in some of these states, the white people are the minority, man. Come on. No, that's silly. Don't be stupid. Poor Cole. Oh. We lost our oxygen, the first thing we need to survive. Yep. Unelected run the government. Yep. And the elected are there. Literally, the bills that get written are not written by Congress people. You know that, right? It's written by lobbyists. That's a fact. Literally, the lobbyists write the bills. Under Trump or under Obama or under freaking Steely Joe, the lobbyists write the bills. All right. It's not the Congress people. They say to the Congress people who they literally have paid money, put this in that 5,000 page boondoggle. If I may, don't forget, Trump signed that sucker. I know people get mad at me because I'm saying bad things about Trump, but he did sign it. He signed it. He signed it. And it's still, I will say to him, blue in the face, the greatest violation of civil liberties since, for the Americans as a whole, since FDR, Japanese internment, was under Trump. It was. Now you can say initially I agree. He made a good federalist case. He let the states do what the states did. At the end of the day, when it became obviously insanity, the federal government needed to step in. They needed to step in, just like Eisenhower in Arkansas, and said, "You can't do this, man." And not only did he not do that, he sat by and he again went after the people who challenged it. And his whole thing was the vaccine stuff. I got a vaccine. I got a vaccine. I mean, that was it. That's all we heard on Trump was it's not for liberty, but it's for vaccines. Yeah, well, I mean, I agree. Trump wasn't great, but he was the only person between you and your freedoms. Yeah, maybe. Yes. So here's Javier. I think going to help campaign for GOP Fort Worth, Texas mayor. I think that's what you have to do, Javier. Hopefully that mayor is not white, because if it's white, you wouldn't talk to him because they're too out of touch with minorities. See how this works, man? You got to be careful what you say, brother, because people can use that against you. So, but I know what you're saying. You're saying on universities. I get that. The universities, you get a bunch of crazy loons who've never, hell, man. Just a lot of rich kids. I get that, but you just got to be careful. You got to be careful because they're coming. And I don't care if you're Spanish, Mexican American, if you're black, if you're white, if you're on the wrong side of the wrong thing, in fact, they hate you more than they hate me, because Javier Sayans is certainly not an Irish Catholic name. Let's put it that way. And as such, you're going against what they want you to be, which is a people of color. People of color all fall in line. Follow Joe. It's nuts. Yeah, right on. Dan says, scrub your Facebook accounts and posts, or you could lose your job at worst. Right on, man. Yes. Remember the Oklahoma State football coach was in trouble for wearing an OAN shirt. Remember the Army guys were in trouble for doing the OK sign, or the whatever. They was doing the OK sign, but the punch thing or whatever it was. Remember the West Point guys? They got in trouble for that. Yeah, it's crazy. Again, the march went on. It kept going on. And Rosemary says, I never say anything. If I ever slip, I always do regret it. I have like one person I can really talk freely with, and two who'll let me be, even though I don't agree. Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. The term limits, I think, do accomplish stuff. The reason they do is because they get look. The incumbents win 95% of the time. Term limits are the way to allow a new breed to come in. Yes, there are going to be paid for. Ultimately, I get that, but it's a short-term commitment, a short-term uh, a buyout, if that makes sense. And as such, they got to turn right around and do it again. The lobbyists. I'm a fan of term limits for sure. It accomplishes a lot. Think about it. De Blasio, I think, is term limited out of New York City, right? And so that's good. Now they might get. I mean, like it's going to be tough to get a crazier guy than De Blasio, and if they want, that's fine. But at least they have the chance. Once you're incumbent, the power of incumbency is huge, man. It's huge. Susie says she deleted her Facebook account yesterday. She's retired, but may come after my grown kids' jobs. 100% right. We've seen that happen, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. All right. All right. They're coming for okay. Yeah, Costa. We always have a good book, man. Yep, 100% right. All right, let's see what we got right now. And again, I appreciate all your super chats. All right. I can't delete Facebook because you can't use your Oculus without it. I'm not sure what Oculus is. Facebook wants a copy of my driver's license. Yeah. They're all going to get okay. If they're all going to Gitmo, if Trump wasn't backed by military, why they're protecting him? And I don't get it. I'm not a racist, and neither are you, Josh. Yeah, I don't have any qualm at that in the least. I know I'm not, and I have no people say whatever they want. I frankly don't care. It literally doesn't matter to me. Pelosi went to Pentagon. Yeah, I saw that, man. Pelosi went to the Pentagon trying to get them not to take orders from Trump. Oh man. I mean, if that would, I mean, just it's The Unknown American Revolution by Gary B. Nash. Interesting. I have to write that down. I don't have a pen. The Unknown American Revolution by Gary B. Nash. Unknown American Revolution. Gary B. Nash. America. Yeah, well, trade deficits were the worst under Trump, and the not just trade deficits, the deficits. I mean, look, I was supported the freaking, there was a taking from the government, and the government takes your ability to earn money, i.e., they shut you down. They need to pay. They should never have done that. If they're going to, it's the same thing as eminent domain. They need to pay, and you're gonna have to. You got to do it now. $600. It's just the whole freaking thing is nuts. Just the whole $600. Well, people lost their effing business as fools. And a lot of those people who lost their businesses aren't going to get the stimulus check because they made too much money last year because their business was booming. Yeah, it's so corrupt. So corrupt. Nah, man, I don't believe that. The NRA is now caved and supports gun control for potentially dangerous people. No way. No way. I got to see that validated. Yeah, no way. No way. Yeah, my man Rosemary says fiction. Email it to me, Rosemary, just at Josh at Heritage Wealth Planning. Josh at heritagewealthplanning.com. Just email me. And I'd love to. I'm all right now. I'm reading. Who did I just get done? I read last week. Olive Kitteridge. It's okay. Right now, I'm back to reading my man. Who is this? I forgot. I just bought. I haven't read it yet. Oh, no, not that. I just bought. Well, no, I borrowed from my library on the Libby application. You can borrow books from all kinds of different libraries. I'm drawing a blank. David McCullough, The Pioneers. Yeah, oh, I just had it. But I'm reading right now. What the hell am I reading? I forgot what I'm reading. Red Wing by John McGauley. I like this guy, John McGauley, a lot. He's out of New Hampshire. I like the way he writes. Simple stuff. It's good, easy to read. The Pioneers from David McCullough is the book I got next after I read this Red Wing from John McGauley, and he writes pretty simple stuff. When I mean simple, it's just as easy to read. I like it. All right. Yeah, no, right on. Anyone can be racist. I don't even think Javier is being racist. I think what he's saying is there are whites on college campuses who don't. They probably profess to be one with BIPOCs, but they're out. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm sure that's what he means. I don't think he's saying he doesn't like white people, but that's what I'm talking about. You just got to be careful on this stuff because anyone can say it anyway. And look, man, give people the benefit of the doubt. Give people a break, if that makes sense. I am not going to be one of these guys that says, "Oh my goodness, you said something racist." I frankly just don't care. It doesn't bother me. I don't get why people get all up in arms about that. It's stupid. Oh boy, yeah, I don't think so. A lot of people. Yep. Rates will go negative this year, I believe. How about it? I think that's probably right, man. But they haven't. It's gone the other way the last couple of weeks. That's weird, man. All right. Yeah, that's right on, Rick. Too many boomer Republicans in the Senate. They need to be replaced with populist Gen X. I completely agree. You know, it is we tried in Mississippi with what's his name, Thad, whatever, Cochran. And we ran a populist against him, against what's her name, who won, and I think McConnell is Mitch McConnell, who pulled some shenanigans and snaked it in the primary. McConnell pulled the rug out from under. I can't remember exactly what it was, but Mississippi in the runoff, Thad Cochran is just he's just like half these guys, like Biden. He didn't know his butt from a hole in the ground, and he retired, and there's a special election or something like that, and the primary is going to see who won. And we had a righteous dude in there from our side, and Mitch McConnell, I can't remember what he did, but he pulled all kinds of shenanigans to keep him from winning the primary. I mean, so that's the thing. We got to win the primaries, and the country club Republicans, you got to take over your local precincts. It starts at the precincts. It goes up to the county. You have to do that, man. Because the county goes up to the state, and the state controls all the stuff. And if the country club Republicans are still running the show in the state and the county, it's gonna be awful hard for you to win. It really will be. Oh, I reported you for Montgomery Burns Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence. Yes. That's impossible. All right. My man James Palace says, so you can go to Subscribe Star for as little as $10 a month. You can give me some of that sweet money. And I do probably once a month a Subscribe Star only live stream. We'll probably ramp those up more now that everyone's getting banned. Because it's like I've got to start. I just got to start. I hate to say reward as if I'm a great reward, but I've got to start doing more for the people who are and I don't have the book here, but Ronald Coleman had written a book about Jesus master class. No, what the hell was it? I forgot what it was about. Jesus, a small group. You start with small groups and you build out. And Subscribestar, if anyone wants to support me, it's on subscribestar.com/Josh Scanlon. It's $10 a month or more. You can give $1 million a month if you want. And remember, the first 5 million you give won't be subject to gift tax. Okay. So feel free to do that. But anyway, Michael Malice said this the other day too. He said, "Look, if you are in a crappy little job and and you can't leave, but you can't speak, you got to support the people who can." And it sounds like a pitch. I get it, but I thought that was 100% right. So I support Styx Hexhammer. I support Paul Joseph Watson, Dave Cullen, a bunch of others. I can't off the top of my head. I can't remember. But anyway, on Subscribestar, because you gotta support financially the people who speak it, because you can't speak it because you'll lose your job. And so essentially we need you to be the Patreons, if you will, but not on Patreon because they'll ban you. We need you to be this Patreons, the people who are gonna speak what you need, what you think needs to be said. The drawback is, there's no commitment. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you might support somebody and they don't speak they say some things you don't like on occasion. That sucks, but that's the issue. So anyway, subscribestar.com. So on Parler, if I'm it's at the @ Scanlon, @Scanlon on Parler. And it sounds like, is Parler now down? I can't I cannot believe this is happening. I cannot believe this is happening. We should have saw what was going to happen after they start getting rid of Confederate flags being sold on Amazon. I said, what? It's freaking stupid. They started changing the pieces on games where you're putting, Army guys from Confederates to you can't have the Confederate flag even on a Lego piece. The whole thing was insane, but you could still have a Nazi flag. The freaking, it's nuts. Anyway, I'm on Parler. It's parler.com. The @ Scanlon. That's how you find me there. I'm on MeWe, MEWE. Wait, MEWE. Yeah, MeWe.com. That's the alternative to Facebook. I love MeWe. I'm on there quite a bit, actually. I didn't think I'd like it that much. I do. I enjoy it. I'm on MeWe, and that's just Josh Scanlon. And then Rumble. BitChute I like. BitChute's hard to post videos. Sometimes they go quickly, sometimes they don't. It's hit or miss. And until they can make it fast, Rumble is my preference. I'm on Rumble, and you gotta, when you're on Rumble, maybe I'll do a separate video tomorrow just how to do all this. But when you're on Rumble, it'll say videos or channel. It'll say for the search button, it defaults to videos. You got to click the drop downs for it, say channel, and then just type in Josh Scanlon. And I got 2 channels on there. I don't know why, but when I set it up, somehow 2 channels come up, and just subscribe to both. Because YouTube is going to be over, man, at some point. I mean, my goodness. But as it is now, I get paid decent money on YouTube. I met a crap load of people on YouTube, so I'm not going away. I just trying to be cryptic in more of what I say. And I just can't believe that Amazon. How is this not freaking collusion? It's like OPEC, man. I mean, all the crap is on Twitter, and it's like they're rubbing it in our face, man. Rubbing our face. Boy. All right, so I guess a friend of mine got reported for being a Trump supporter. Her job and pension is now at risk. Let's just go back to right here, what General Sheridan said. Death is popularly considered to be the maximum punishment in war, but is not. Reduction to poverty brings prayers for peace, more surely and more quickly than does the destruction of human life. So prayers for peace with this lady, assuming, would be, I won't support Trump anymore. All right. That's mind-boggling, man. So the Uber guy, how about my man on, what's his name, Rageaholic? Is he still on YouTube? Razor Fist? Because that guy is fantastic. If you're not following Razor Fist on a YouTube, you should. By the way, I am on BitChute. I am. I post stuff. Just everything I post on YouTube, by and large, goes on Rumble. And slowly, I'm going to start just posting stuff solely on Rumble when it comes to political stuff, because I just, YouTube is we know what's happening, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to start doing more political stuff, philosophical stuff, more on Rumble, because that's just part of my DNA. I enjoy it. I like it. I like talking about it. I like thinking about it. And I seem to have Rosemary last time said this is a literary audience. That was probably the best compliment I could ever hear. Well-read and intellectual types for sure. Not all of us. I get it. That's fine. But that was probably one of the best compliments you could hear for a poor white trash kid from Maine, to be said that we are in a literary group here, and that's good stuff. That made me very happy, and I don't want to lose that, because I enjoyed immensely. I like financial planning; that's my bread and butter. But the literary stuff is that's part of me too. But I won't lose that. I can't, because it's who I am. It gives me a sense of satisfaction to share ideas and topics about that with people, and to hear books like The Unknown American Revolution by Gary B. Nash. And that's hell, I found so many books from people like you guys that I never would have come across. And reading for me is still fundamental. I don't know how people don't read. It's insane to me, but people don't. It's crazy. I guess if you have dyslexia, you never were and you never received Orton Gillingham training or something like that to read, to read better in terms of the way you can grasp it. I get that, but because I have a son like that, but he did get the training. Now he reads like a freaking crazy man. But other than that, I don't know how people don't read, man. It's reading is so much more of a brain, so much more of a chemical in your brain than watching the stupid, the stupid box. All right, I'm gonna get out of here, man. Appreciate you all who sent me some money here today. Much obliged. YouTube will get their blood, on that, but I'll get my share, and I appreciate that. Hang in there. Don't go crazy. Watch what you say. Blink, blink, blink. There's no reason to go crazy, man. It's not. And just remember, this is the ultimate resource right here. Everything falls under this. Everything does. Because if you truly are a Christian, Jesus rose from the dead, and that is all that matters. If you're not a Christian, or you don't believe that Jesus rose from the dead, and not believing Jesus was alive is silly. But you can say you don't believe Jesus rose from the dead. I get that. That's fine. Not my job to convince you. My job is not to convince you, because I can't convince you. The only thing that can convince you is the Holy Spirit, and someday you will be convinced or you won't be. Either way, that's up to you. You'll never be convinced with evidence that says, here is the proof. I have videotape of Jesus rising from the dead. You'll never see that. And a lot of people need to see that. But even Thomas, who was with Jesus, who saw him in front of him, could not believe until he touched him. All right? So it's okay. It's okay. It will come when it comes, man. But for us who do believe, there's no excuse for us to be miserable, because we know how it ends, and it ends in us ascending to the eternal glory of God. And I mean, literally, I literally can't comprehend that, and you can't either. You know what I'm saying? But with that said, God doesn't just sit there and say, don't do anything, you know what I'm saying, and just freaking put your thumb up your butt and spin. God says, I need you to take action, do something, man. The parable of the talents. Create wealth of what I have given you. And wealth doesn't necessarily need to be financial. Wealth can be sharing knowledge, can be patting a friend on the back and say it's going to be okay. It can be smiling at the lady who's scared crapless of COVID and just saying, hi, it's okay. You see what I'm saying? Just being a good human being is a first step, and just saying, look, man, there are a bunch of crazies out there, but even crazy people can change. That is a fact. The craziest was Saul of Tarsus, and he changed. He wanted to execute Christians, and he changed and wrote most of the New Testament. So adios, my friends. We will be okay. Hang in there, man. All right. Appreciate it, and God bless.